I have been going to Tupelo Smiles my whole life. When I was a kid, I was unhappy about some uneven coloring on my teeth after getting my braces off, which at the time there really wasn't a fix. I was recently made aware of a solution that would totally fix it, which is exactly what we did. They not only heard my concerns, but they never stopped looking to solve my problem, and that's why I love Tupelo Smiles.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
Welcome to Mississippi Live Weather at 5. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon on this Tuesday evening. It has been obviously really cold to start the day. Milder this afternoon, but with dry conditions, breezy conditions. Unfortunately, we've still had some fire danger out there. Some locations added to burn bans here across Mississippi. We'll look at that list coming up here in a few minutes. But the dry conditions, I think, will eventually be replaced by some rain chances. Still got a couple days away, but I think the middle of the week in particular, as we look towards Thursday, a time period we're going to have some thunderstorms, maybe even a couple of stronger thunderstorms. No official severe weather risk at this point. Part of the reason for that, I think things just a little bit out of place, but we'll talk about that impact and the threats we're looking at with that come up here in a few minutes. Milder air, though, beginning tonight and going forward. So if you're through with the cold, we are largely through with it for at least a little while longer as temperatures go on the increase. As we mentioned, the burn bans there, again, that is an effect of the dry air. And believe it or not, that we've seen some rainfall on occasions, we still have drought conditions that dominate most locations. This is our wet season. We largely haven't kept up as much as I think we'd like to. Batesville coming in 55 degrees current temperature at this hour. The winds remain a little breezy there out of the southwest, 13 miles per hour, and that measure of moisture there, that dew point. See where it says 19? That's some really dry air, and that's again where that elevated fire danger comes from. Not all the way to fire weather warning or red flag warning criteria out there, but certainly it has been breezy and windy, not just here, but a large portion of the southeast dealing with the fire danger today. 52, the temperature in Tupelo, the measure of moisture slightly higher, and again, appreciate Mitchell Cunningham Bowling for sponsoring our Tupelo Tower Cam. A little bit of haze, and from time to time, that haze today has been because of some of the fires, whether they were controlled burns that didn't end that way, or maybe fortunately did. The smoke, something I think, at least I know, driving out and about the last couple of days, I've noticed a little more than we'd like to. And Starkville, 55 degrees, and that air remaining dry with that little bit of a haze there on the Mississippi State campus as well as of this hour. As you can see, we're 51 degrees at 6 p.m., 45s look toward 9, 44 as we head toward midnight, with temperatures down low 40s by early morning on your Wednesday. That is well above the low 20s we were this morning. So a huge improvement there on those southerly winds, a sign that we're bringing in more moisture. Not a lot in place yet, but I think we'll have more of the next couple days to try to eventually elevate some of those rain chances. Wide shot here shows our next front up closer to the plains. As you can see, kind of a frontal system up that direction there. A little bit of wintry precipitation closer to the Great Lakes with this. This is kind of moving in more of a clipper front. It does not have a ton of cold air, and so it's not going to be just like this giant burst of cold that arrives. It's going to kind of get in here and largely stall out. Kind of case in point, we bring it to the current time period here, kind of show you some of the contrast there. Ahead of that front, 70s, pretty much at the front there in Kansas, which, by the way, anytime it's 70s in Kansas in February, as a guy that's from there, that's pretty warm. 52 behind that in Nebraska. You do get down in the 20s and single digits, but the majority of that cold air is not heading toward us. That is sliding more this way here, staying up there closer to the Great Lakes with it. The portion of this that's coming toward us just isn't that much colder. And so then the question becomes, well, what is this system going to end up bringing with it? I think we'll have some limited rain chances, but we already kind of alluded to here, the moisture is pretty limited. When we start talking about dew points in the teens, which is kind of what we've talked about out there, I mean, we show around the mid-teens. That's some really, really dry air. You got to go all the way down in the Gulf of Mexico, deep into the Gulf, to get where those dew point temperatures, that measure of moisture, is in the 50s. So that's a sign that while we have some rain chances by Thursday, this is Tuesday, looking toward Thursday, some chances there, real questions on whether or not we're going to have enough meaningful moisture in place for those storms to get heavy or strong I think we could have some thunderstorms, but I think the majority of the more active weather probably gets going by the time this gets eastward, and there's a little more time for that front to get some moisture to go along with it. So some clouds out there. That's the main story for this evening, and it's just mostly cloudy across the Magnolia State, but mainly higher, thin sort of variety clouds as opposed to what we have closer to the ground. You can even kind of see it. See, it kind of looks like each of these little bits of cloud cover has a point to them, a sign they're more the cirrus and kind of mid-level and higher level sort of clouds. At the surface, we have those strong southerly winds. They remain breezy into tonight and into the overnight hours as well. As that next front kind of approaches, you can see this is all just green and really lighter variety green up there into the locations in the Tennessee and Kentucky. So not a lot of moisture with that. Our first chances, again, very light, start by late in your Wednesday. Just not expecting it to really be a lot of meaningful moisture as you're heading back from church tomorrow evening. Maybe some sprinkles on the car windshield, but not expected to really add up to much. We're in the mid 60s. So that's an improvement if you're looking for warmer temperatures there. We're going 65 degrees by afternoon. Those southerly winds, though, remain breezy. And again, I think light enough or limited enough amounts of moisture that the fire danger, maybe not quite as high as it was for today, but will remain somewhat elevated into your Wednesday as well. Now, coming up here in 60 seconds, we're going to talk specifically a little bit more about that fire danger component here. We'll talk to our meteorologist, Gabe Maynor, also about some of those burn bans that have been in affected parts of the region. And we're going to look at number of our different projections on the storm chances later this week and some of the components to go into place with that. That's coming up here in 60 seconds as Mississippi Live Weather continues from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
Game day brings its ups and downs, celebration and disappointment, anxiety and relief, friends and enemies. You can always argue over who should have won, but everyone can agree on great food. Appetizers, entrees, drinks, party platters, or even the taste of sweet victory. There's something for every season at Eat With Us restaurants.
Save today at Room to Room's President's Day sale. 55% off furniture and mattresses, 20% off accessories,
and 24-month special financing.
The time to act is now.
Room to Room Tupelo, where we know there's no place like your home.
I felt accomplished after I got my diploma. Made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lovehine.
Well, zoomed in, looking at the trees. Check here for a second what we got going on. I guess my behind the scenes stuff. We get looking at the right thing here. Well, it looks like my gizmo behind the scenes might not be happy with me. So we're going to bring the virtual weather center back here for a moment. Give me a moment to bring that back up here. And there we are. Everything's showing up for you. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Loppon. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We're looking at our camera there in Oxford. The camera has the ability to kind of detect different things. It's right now in auto mode, looking for wildfire, maybe a little bit of smoke showing up there along the edge of the tree line. Again, appreciate Phoenix Building Solutions for working us here on our Oxford camera there. Coming down to Monroe County and the Aberdeen area, we have seen from time to time some bits of smoke. I think that, again, it's also kind of looking toward what I think that is actually more steam there than smoke that's picking out. That's the beauty of when we kind of use some of the automatic stuff on these cameras. It's like, wait, I'm seeing it. One thing you definitely see in Aberdeen, though, that camera jostling back and forth. It is breezy for sure. A lot of spots. That 10-mile-per-hour wind with gusts closer to 20, making for kind of breezy afternoon. And looking out of our camera there in West Point, pretty hazy as we've had some smoke in and around that part of the Golden Triangle from time to time today. On Mama Justice Doppler radar, we're kind of zoomed in close here. You can see a few of the smoke plumes that we've had. The smoke plumes on here will always show up where you kind of have a point and then something carried away from there. So like, for example, west of West Point there, some of that was some smoke from earlier on. Looks like we might have had a little bit there also kind of east of West Point as well. So we've had some of these spots around the region where we've been detecting some of that. Probably a better way to detect the fire. We do have some fire weather exclusive things that you'll see only here on Mississippi Live Weather that allow us to kind of look at where some fires are. And kind of the crude version of our fire tracker here, again, showing some of those that we'll talk about there in Clay County, but a number of other fires, whether they were related to, intentional control burns or otherwise across the region. Just today is a little probably too breezy to really be doing that, if we're honest. You can see here across, you go on the wide shot here and just look for your clustering of red. Southeastern United States have been kind of primed for wildfires, including some of those big ones they've had down there into locations back into Florida and around the Everglades over the course of the last 24 hours or so. But unfortunately, quite a few fires out there. Something we don't want to see, but certainly something we've kind of run into some issues with. Looking at some of the wind gusts, just the sustained wind speeds where you see the greens on here back in the Delta, 20 miles per hour. Again, these are, pretty consistent wind speeds. Again, less friction out there. The reason those wind speeds are a little bit higher. And if we check the wind gusts, some of the peak wind gusts up closer to the Memphis area up there in excess of 30 miles per hour. Here around Tupelo, around 20 miles per hour. Kosciuszko, about 20 miles per hour as well. So it has been fairly breezy. You factor that in with the dry air, and that's just a combination we've got to be careful of, because that's the scenario. You factor those things, dry conditions, high winds, and warm temperatures. And that's one thing we haven't been as much today. Temperatures have not been as warm, but as we increase them a little more tomorrow, that's one of those factors that could enhance some of the fire danger just a little bit as well. Speaking to the fire point here, as far as that's concerned, I want to bring in our meteorologist, Gabe Maynor, who has been kind of looking at some of the burn bans placed in effect across parts of Mississippi here. And Gabe, some of those added in the last 24 hours, right?
Exactly. Not here in North Mississippi, albeit we have had some of those fire risks as well. But if we go ahead and put this in play and go statewide, we can see that there is some of that potential down south, a little bit more prominent. And that's where those burn bans have been issued. There we go. As we zoom things out right here, you can see statewide, we do have that southwestern part of the Magnolia State under those burn bans. This is a new addition as of today. Not going to be shocked at all if we do keep these dry conditions persisting into the weekend and even into parts of next week, maybe adding a few more counties as the days go on. Again, this stationary front heading into Thursday will help, but we are in a decent drought still as we enter into that late winter, early spring season. So as we enter these wet months, Matt, we need rainfall, as much of it as we can get, and not necessarily the high outputs over a one-day span. We need that ground to get saturated, and then that takes a little bit as each day passes, kind of building on that ground and allowing some of that vegetation to come back, allowing some of those dry conditions to get out of the area. But nonetheless, with all the limbs on the side of the roads, all the things that people are wanting to burn and clear out from the ice storm, we're wanting to clear that out pretty quickly. It just isn't exactly the atmosphere to do it.
No, we just have to be careful. One of the things, talking to the Mississippi Forestry Commission, the most likely scenario for forest fires to get going is when we have, people trying to burn debris and it gets out of hand. I appreciate that, Gabe, there. Again, that's one of the concerns, trying to make sure that we're smart about that, because we're adding fuel to a situation. Speaking of fuel here, I want to show you our next rain chances here, and we're looking toward the next weather maker, which will end up being Thursday, and chance for some showers and thunderstorms there. Now, Gabe and I were talking about this before the show, positioning here where we have our stalled front that comes in from the north, kind of gets down here and stays put. We have kind of the main front itself, and we have kind of a sort of an effective front north. There's a little more fuel with the one to the north, at least initially here into Thursday, but I think they kind of join up, and the best chance start to shift south of us as we head into your Thursday night and Friday. But I think there's enough fuel in place to have a few isolated thunderstorms again for your Thursday here across North Mississippi. Now, all our projections are fully aligned on that, and we will look particularly at our exclusive storm finder coming up at 6 o'clock related to this. We're also going to show you where storms are tracking here in just a moment. But I think the takeaway is severe weather remains a build of an outside chance as opposed to a likelihood this week. So I'd say looking kind of toward Thursday in particular, we're not really looking at a tornado threat out of this. I just don't think we have the right lineup for that on a lot of different levels. Maybe some gusty winds if we get some thunderstorms. Hail's not an impossibility. I think even the heavy rainfall threat remains pretty limited. One of the things, again, exasperating some of the drought conditions that we have had of late. School day forecast for your Wednesday, though, we're ahead of all that. We're 43 on your IMPC school day forecast, 59 by lunch, and 64 by the final bell, under what should be, I think, some mid-level clouds primarily, kind of high-level clouds initially, and then more and more get closer to the surface, and maybe a chance to possibly have a couple showers as we head late in the day. Still pretty dry near the surface, so a lot of the rainfall, I think, should initially probably end up falling into dry air and largely evaporate and be a limited impact on your Wednesday. But Tuesday night, obviously, very limited impact and only really some high to mid-level clouds out there at this time, looking toward all directions. A few little spots where we try to clear out somewhat for early tomorrow morning, but largely this blanket cloud cover making it to where we're much milder to begin tomorrow versus where we were for today. So looking at those low temperatures on your Wednesday morning, coming in 43 degrees Houston, Starkville, and Eupora, about 45 for Oxford, 44 degrees in Water Valley, 45 in Grenada. Yeah, about 39 our coolest spot in Hamilton, Alabama. But even then, I think with the widespread clouds, that's one of the things that helps those temperatures to be a little warmer and back up above our normal for this time of year, as you can see above my head there for a moment. The shadow of that front, though, does extend into our area, and that front is really kind of the focal point over the next couple of days, how it all kind of plays out. Most of the activity with that up here north into Tennessee, as you can see, our first little blips of green start showing up there closer to Corinth by tomorrow afternoon. But even then, as you'll note, pretty light stuff. So not a lot of meaningful moisture with this, even into the afternoon to evening time period on your Wednesday. So highs on Wednesday, again, with mostly dry conditions through the day. We're back up above the 61 we should be for this time of year. It's nice to see, by the way, that 30-year average, that normal back up above the 60-degree point. We're coming in 67 degrees in Bruce, 70 in Eupora, 72 Belzona, 71 degrees in Greenville, and about 70 in Greenwood. Below our record high for this time of year as well, but obviously a little above our normal. Only a few showers, and again, most of this probably failing to get to the ground, so only really some sprinkles through your Wednesday evening into your Wednesday night, close to this frontal system. There's just, again, we're waiting on moisture kind of coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. You can kind of see that with the arrows there, kind of depicting the moisture trying to come up. A few showers also south, closer to Meridian, Birmingham, locations that direction. But near and along this line, not a lot of development. Some slightly behind that, closer to Jonesboro, Arkansas, up there toward West Tennessee, up toward Jackson, at least on our HRRR model here, where it has a few of these getting a little bit heavier there in the pre-dawn hours of early Thursday morning. So we will watch this to see, just in case the positioning slightly farther south. We're waiting to see if kind of the front as we depict it here and all of our projections kind of congeal on a single frontal passage as opposed to just one that's kind of weakening as it moves through the area. So temperatures, we're starting about 60 in Belzona and Greenwood. And again, remember, 61 is our normal high for this time of year. So this is that moisture starting to come northward, starting to saturate things a little bit more and keeping temperatures milder to begin early Thursday. I mean, you compare it to the low 20s we had this morning, only a couple days separating it. It's obviously going to be a lot warmer to begin your Thursday. And that does start setting the stage for that limited chance for some thunderstorms along and very near this front. You can see it almost hides back there, given some of those thunderstorms that are trying to pop up through the day. But you'll notice it doesn't have a lot there that we're dealing with. So very limited chance to have a couple of isolated thunderstorms, maybe one or two. They're somewhat heavier. 3, 4 o'clock. Not much developing there. So again, this is that limited amount of fuel that we were talking about with that first graphic a moment ago there. If we had more fuel, these thunderstorms would be more likely to be a little bit heavier. We do show a couple starting to go though. Eupora, West Point, back toward around Columbus by say 5 o'clock or so. That's where it's not impossible that one or two of these is strong enough to possibly kick out a strong wind gust. Temperatures are going to be warm though on Thursday. That we do know, as we're going to be up to about 73 in Belzona and Greenwood, 73 Kosciuszko, we're 72 Eupora. I mean, our coolest spots, again, well behind kind of both of those boundaries, the main front and kind of the secondary one there. We're 64 in Corinth and Iuka, 66 degrees Holly Springs and South Haven. So it's a sign that there's just not a lot of cold there behind us. It's just a little bit cooler. The thunderstorms, I think, start to focus more right along the main front here as we go into your evening on Thursday, where we show, again, this is primarily just oranges. So takeaway should be, even if we start saying thunderstorm more and more, these are relatively limited in their intensity as we go into your Thursday evening. And most of them are strongest right along our front. And since we're north of that frontal boundary, most should be a little bit below severe limits. And the majority of the activity, we'll start to get some of these thunderstorms a little heavier. They're going to be right there and just a little bit ahead of that front as well, where there should be slightly more fuel, more lift along the front, and taking the most active weather with it as it moves toward the south and east. So over the course of the next few days here, our focus as far as any thunderstorms go will be on Thursday. It's really Thursday, second half of the day, and Thursday night that we'll obviously have some showers through the day as well. 68, the high temperature, and that normal this time of year is 61. So certainly running a bit above that for some spots. Because I show 68, but as you saw, there's still some lower to middle 70s out there for highs on Thursday, especially when you're north of that front. As we go toward Friday, we're 66. Notice behind this front, we drop it in the mid 40s by your Friday, and then only lower 40s for Saturday. As we talked about, this system just doesn't really shove a bunch of cold air down our throats, and so we do get milder fairly quickly. But what it does do is it kind of moves the moisture just far enough south, and the overall prevailing pattern just kind of keeps the winds the right direction, that we don't really get a lot of lower level moisture coming in. You can always kind of see that with the low temperatures when they're like the mid 50s, like what we're showing for Thursday. That says we still have a fairly substantial amount of moisture there versus the lower 40s. So again, that is a sign that less humid air largely stays in place and makes for what is in a lot of ways a beautiful weekend ahead. We'll have that SEC baseball forecast coming up for you coming up at 6 o'clock as well. Join the conversation with us as we kind of have our chat ongoing here. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, like Janie from Solingent and Lee there in Coffeyville. Appreciate Mike Davis and everybody there in New Albany, Kathy, for watching us in Ecru and Toronto. Woo! Man, y'all are cold. But I appreciate you showing up anyway, Nathan there. And of course, Kathy there in Walnut as well. Appreciate all the folks as well that do support us here on Mississippi Live Weather, like Casey Lott has sponsored our game of the week since the get-go. Eat with us, of course, with the gift cards that you could buy. We had a promotion with them this last end of the fall, early winter season, and Exceed Technologies, again, running commercials with us, as many other folks are. We appreciate all of you for supporting those that support us here on Mississippi Live Weather. It's the way in which we can continue doing this. Appreciate you, Jeremy and Potts Camp, as well, and everyone else for watching in Corinth this evening. At 6 p.m., we're going to look at an exclusive you get only here on Mississippi Live Weather, and that is our Storm Finder. What that helps us to do is kind of analyze, okay, are these showers, or are these something more than that? When we start to see a greater uptick in lightning, that's a sign that perhaps these could have some potential to have some stronger wind gusts, some power disruptions, some things like that. We'll look at our exclusive Storm Finder coming up here at 6 o'clock in the Room to Room Weather Center. And we hope you'll join us then here on Mississippi Live Weather. But for Gabe, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt LaPon. We'll see you in about 40 minutes, 38 minutes or so.
The 9th Annual World of Customs Indoor Car Show, Friday through Sunday, February 27th through March 1st in Tupelo Furniture Market, Building 5. Custom cars, trucks, and bikes, free Hot Wheels racing, and a free Hot Wheels each day for the first 50 kids. Special guest Eric Estrada from the TV show Chimps, Pinstriper Von Hot Rod, Michael Brandt of Garage Bound Mobile Welding, and Bumblebee. The World of Customs Car Show, February 27th through March 1st in Tupelo Furniture Market, Building 5. Partially funded by Visit Mississippi and Tupelo Visitors Bureau. Some proceeds go to Le Bonheur Children's Hospital and Wounded Veterans Charities.